Hey everyone, CubeKing77 here from the AC Syndicate team, here to do the video finally comparing the two flagship devices on Sprint, HTC EVO 4G LTE and Samsung Galaxy S3. We've got both of them right here head to head going against one another. I'm going to try and keep it to a one-part video, but you guys know how much I like to talk about my phone, so we will see if it goes longer. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so here we are with the two devices, the Galaxy S3 and the HTC EVO 4G LTE. Both LTE phones on Sprint at the moment. Price-wise, they're about the same. Otherwise, though, color, you can actually get two different color options with the Galaxy S3, the marble white or the pebble blue. You don't have a black option with this device. With HTC EVO 4G LTE, you have basically this black. I have seen pictures of a white EVO LTE coming soon as well, though, so expect that sometime in the future, a white variant of the EVO LTE. But anyways, something I always love to do with my videos is the boot test to see which one boots up faster. So I'm going to do that, start with that right away. I'm going to count to 3, press the buttons, 1, 2, 3. So I press and hold them, get them going, let go, and we will see which one boots up. They have just about the same boot animations, and we will see which one takes longer to load. I always love doing these tests. It looks like the EVO LTE loaded up right away, ready to go. Not taking much loading time at all. That was very fast. So you'll see I'm already ready to go on the EVO LTE. Booted up right away. And I could be opening applications, going into different things. I mean, I'm really set. And then finally the Galaxy S3 catches up and boots up. So by far, the EVO LTE has just won our first test, our boot up test. So if you guys do shut off your phone a lot, turn it back on, obviously you'll know the EVO LTE is definitely going to boot up faster. But anyways, that's enough with that. I do want to talk about build quality along with design, hardware, all that good stuff. So right away, you'll notice that they have very different designs actually. On the front here, you do have capacitive buttons on both of them. It's obviously you can't see them on the marble white, but you have a menu button over here on the Galaxy S3 and a back button over here and a home button, a physical button right there, which is obviously quite different. On the HTC EVO 4G LTE, you have a back arrow, home button, and a recent running apps button. So you don't even have a menu button on the HTC device, but you can press and hold the home button on the Galaxy S3, and that is your recent running apps button. So you kind of do have 4 buttons on the Galaxy S3 as opposed to the 3 on the HTC EVO 4G LTE. Otherwise, though, you have more of a different design with basically the speaker up here. With the EVO, I don't like the design over the Samsung just because it's indented, so you can definitely get some dust and such in there. So I do prefer to have it more like how Samsung does it, with it more protruding out of the device as opposed to indented in, just with the dust collection and such. You also, of course, have a front-facing camera on both devices. You have a 2-megapixel one on the Galaxy S3 and a 1.3 megapixel on the HTC EVO 4G LTE. I do prefer the quality of the Galaxy S3's front-facing camera over the EVO LTE's front-facing camera. I also prefer the Galaxy S3's buttons down here. Even though it is a hard button, I myself don't mind having basically a physical button down there as opposed to all capacitive buttons. I also like having the option of having a menu button as well. That's really big for me. I do use that menu button quite a bit, which I wish the HTC EVO 4G LTE had, but that's just a personal preference of mine. Of course, yours could change. Otherwise, though, on the sides of the device, on the left side, on both devices, you basically have volume rockers on the Galaxy S3, but you have a charging port on the EVO 4G LTE. Flip it over on the right side, you have a power button on the Galaxy S3, and you have a camera button on the EVO 4G LTE. And then on the top of the device itself, you have headphone jacks on both, and you have a power button on the EVO 4G LTE. On the bottom, you have a charging port on the Galaxy S3 and a microphone, and just a microphone on the EVO 4G LTE. And on the back, you have your 8-megapixel camera on both of them. Of course, you have an LED flash, and you have the speaker up at the top here of the Galaxy S3, and you have a speaker down at the bottom of the EVO LTE. You also notice you do have a kickstand as well on your EVO. So that's a little added feature that the Galaxy S3 does have, which I do like having. I do like having a kickstand, although I do plan to put a fly grip on both of these devices very soon, so expect videos on that. Obviously one of my favorite accessories for cell phones. I'll link to it in the description. But anyways, color-wise, design-wise, I do like HTC's decision to go with that red kickstand. It kind of gives it just a different look as opposed to just all one color. So I do like it. I do wish they would have made the top piece the same as the bottom though. That's just a personal preference of mine. As opposed to the white though, I do like having a white device. It is very, it's very sexy. I do like having the white on my phone. I'm very happy with that purchase, going with the white as opposed to the blue. But otherwise, I would say just looks. I would prefer the Galaxy S3 just by looks. Obviously, even if it was a white EVO LTE with the looks of that, I would prefer the Galaxy S3. I just prefer the more rounded edges as opposed to, it's kind of more square on the EVO LTE. Also on the sides, how it's got more of a curved look to it. I like that as well. It just kind of gives it more of a sleek design. But build quality definitely goes to HTC on this one. The EVO has much better build quality. Not necessarily much better, but it feels a lot more sturdy in your hand. It is more of a metal. It is, obviously, it has more of a metal outer casing. The Galaxy S3 has more of a plastic outer casing. It's not necessarily cheap plastic, but it's definitely a plastic covering to the device, and it gives the EVO a more sturdy feel to it. Obviously I'm not going to do a drop test and determine which one's sturdier, but it just feels in your hand that the EVO is going to be a more sturdy device, and just overall has a better build quality. Other than that though, let's talk about the buttons on this device. It's actually something that I want to talk about. You will see, I also forgot to mention there's volume rockers on the right side of the EVO. They do kind of blend in, so I must have missed them. Sorry about that. But anyways, power button placement, you've got it on the side here of the Galaxy S3 and the top on the EVO. I much rather have it on the side just because when I'm holding my device, I'll hold it like this. It's very easy for my thumb to press it on the side as opposed to readjusting, moving that finger up at the top and then pressing it and then readjusting back to use your device. I much prefer to have it over there. Although I love having a camera button. It's just one of those things where I love having it. I really wish Samsung wouldn't have gotten rid of it on the Galaxy S3 or even the Galaxy S2, but the camera button is great to have. I mean, you got a quick shortcut into the camera application all the time, and it's easy to take pictures with, so definitely happy that the EVO has that. On the left side, a charging port on the side on the EVO, not a big fan. I much prefer to have it on the top or the bottom. Just it's a lot more convenient with different stuff that I do. It's obviously a personal preference of mine. Overall though, I do prefer to have the kickstand. I wish the Galaxy S3 did have one. That's another personal preference of mine. That's just about it for the design though. Let's go ahead and turn on the devices and talk a little bit about software and other things. Obviously they have two different screens. You have a 4.7-inch SLCD2 display on the HTC EVO 4G LTE, and on the Galaxy S3 you have a 4.8-inch Super AMOLED HD display. So you have a little bit bigger screen on the Galaxy S3. One thing to note on the Galaxy S3 and the EVO, they're about the same height when you stand them up vertically. They're about the same height, even though the Galaxy S3 does have a bigger screen. Which kind of makes the EVO feel a little more bulky. Not necessarily bulky, but just feels like they have a little bit of unneeded space within the device. But I mean, obviously both screens are great. I do really like both of them. It's difficult to pick between the two because they are different. You can definitely notice the difference. But what I found is that I much rather have the HTC EVO 4G LTE screen when I'm outside, but when I'm inside, I'd much rather have the Galaxy S3 screen. The EVO 4G LTE screen is brighter, even with brightness all the way up. It always ends up being brighter. And it looks better when you're outside, but when you're inside the colors are deeper, and I just prefer the Super AMOLED display when I'm inside. So I mean, it's kind of a trade-off there. That is my personal opinion. I definitely again, I mean, I just prefer one over the other when I'm inside and outside. It's just a different thing. So let's go ahead and play a quick video so you can take a look at just kind of what it looks like between the two. Both are connected to my Wi-Fi, so they're obviously going to load up at similar rates. Let me go ahead and turn it down. Alright, so playing these videos, definitely pretty cool. It looks like the EVO's loaded up faster, but again, it's based on network speed and such. We're in a dark tunnel, it looks like, with this video. I've actually seen this video. It's pretty cool. So you can kind of see how they look, how colorful they are. It actually looks like on the camera, it looks like the Galaxy S3 has waves going through them at certain points. It's not doing that when you look at it. Obviously with the naked eye, it's just something the camera does to the screen itself. But you'll see the colors are different. The colors on the Galaxy S3 are just deeper. I wouldn't want to say washed out, but they're just not as deep on the EVO. So yeah, that's just about it for the video. I didn't really want to show too much of it, but I figured I'd show you a little bit just to kind of get the screen difference there. So that's it for the screen. I definitely would say inside or outside. It depends on what you do more. I'd probably say I'm pretty equal inside and outside, especially in the summer myself, so it would be difficult for me to choose between the two. I would probably go with the Galaxy S3 display though, just because I just prefer Super AMOLED displays myself. Alright, I also want to talk a little bit about the radios of the device, aka the signal strength, Wi-Fi, all that good stuff. Signal strength wise, I'd probably give it to the EVO, having a little bit better signal strength with 3G connection as well. Probably a little bit better with the HTC. Depending on your area though, I mean they're very comparable. Not too big of a difference there. GPS radios as well, they're both phenomenal. You're not going to have any GPS issues with either. I've used both of them in the rain, in very cloudy weather, in the sun. I've used them both and they've both been great. So no issues whatsoever with GPS. If you're wary to go to a Samsung because of past GPS issues, you don't need to be anymore. They've definitely improved upon those GPS issues. On the back, speaker-wise, speaker quality, you've got one up top here and one down at the bottom on the different devices. I would give it to the EVO LTE myself. I just prefer the sound. It is just a different sound that comes out of the two. It's not necessarily one's just a bad quality. It's just kind of a different sound, which I prefer on the EVO. So that's just a personal preference of mine. Let's go ahead and get into some software of the device itself though. So let's run some applications. The camera application, open them up. Looks like they opened up at about the same rate. I'm going to press the home button on both of them, exit out of it, go into the Play Store on both of them. I'm going to try and open them up at the same time so you can see how quick one loads up over the other. Again, network could have an effect on one or the other. But yeah, I kind of want to just run through, open up some applications, go into the app drawer. Let's go ahead and open up a couple more. Again, I'm pressing home, so they should be running in the background. All these applications, these different ones. Okay, so I got about 4 applications running in the background on both devices. As you know, you've got your recent running applications button itself on the EVO, and you have to press and hold the home button on the other one. So if I wanted to go to it, I press the button and I press and hold on one of them. You'll see it's got a completely different interface with these recent running apps. With this recent running app screen, you can swipe up, swipe away different applications on each. Overall, I definitely prefer the multitasking on the Galaxy S3. This application is just, it's very slow. It's slow to exit out of the different applications and such. I just prefer it on the Galaxy S3 myself. I know others will agree with me as well on that issue. There have just been a lot of complaints about the multitasking on the EVO itself. But if I wanted to run through, go to different applications, it looks like it loads up faster with the camera application. If I wanted to load YouTube back up, you'll see it kind of, it opens up right away within the multitasking, but it's just slow swiping through, seeing all of your applications and such, and I just prefer it over, and you have a remove all button, which I love having that remove all button, instead of pressing remove all and then slowly swiping through all of these different applications takes forever on your device. So overall, give multitasking capabilities to the Galaxy S3. Processor wise, they both have the exact same dual core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon processor in them, but the Galaxy S3 does have 2 gigabytes of RAM as opposed to the 1 gigabytes of RAM in the EVO 4G LTE. So that's really about the only difference inside the devices itself. Battery wise, the Galaxy S3 has a 2100 milliamp hour battery as opposed to the 2000 milliamp hour battery in the EVO LTE, and you also do not have a removable battery on the HTC EVO 4G LTE. You can take the backs off of both of them, so if I pop the back off of the Galaxy S3, you'll see I take it off, it pops off, and you also have a top casing. This top casing comes off. You'll notice obviously both have SD card slots in them, expandable memory, but you'll also notice you can't take out the battery on the EVO, which is obviously a problem for some. I'd much rather have a removable battery, whether you want to buy another battery, an extended battery, all that good stuff. It's great to have a removable battery. I don't know why HTC decided to not have one, just due to the fact, even though some people say, oh, it gives it better build factor, the thinness of the device looks about the same, and obviously the Galaxy S3 has a removable battery, so I mean you can't really argue that it helps with build quality or anything because thinness of the devices are about the same. I don't know about the technical specs, but I can't really notice from the naked eye which one's thicker or which one's not. Weight wise, I would say about the same. I mean, it feels like the Galaxy S3 might be lighter, if anything, but again, it's just kind of a feel. So, I mean, if I can't feel a difference, then obviously it's not too big of a deal. If it's a certain amount of point-something ounces difference, I really don't think that's going to matter. But battery life, I'm gonna go ahead and say that they're very, very similar. I wouldn't necessarily give one a longer battery life over the other. They're very similar. So if you're looking for a certain length, I would say one or the other works because they are very similar. I've talked to other people that have owned both devices as well, and they say the same things. I also want to say though, the Galaxy S3 does charge a little bit faster than the EVO LTE. I did notice that. It does charge a little bit faster, so kind of keep that in mind. So, I mean, battery life I guess I could give to the Galaxy S3 because it charges faster, but I mean, other than that, that's really about it. Okay, so that's it for part one. I decided to make it into a two-part video. I'm going to go ahead and run some benchmarks in my next video along with some camera tests. I'll compare the two cameras. I'll compare other things as well, more on the software related. This was more kind of hardware related, the part one video, but I'll definitely get into Sense versus TouchWiz, camera applications, all that good stuff. So be sure to watch part two, and I will give my final thoughts as well, and I will determine which one has won. So definitely be sure to check out part two. I will link to it for you guys. Be sure to subscribe as well. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. All links will be in the description video below. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up.